Hello, welcome to Babble About Books. My name is Tavia, and today you're tuning into my most anticipated book releases of 2021, along with the books that I want to get to in 2021 as well. We are going to start off with the books that I want to get to in 2021 that have already been released and that have been on my radar that I am super excited to read. So the first one is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. All I really know about it is it's sad and it's ruining people's lives, and I'm excited. I love when books invoke such strong emotions that everyone who's read it has cried and said they hated life afterwards, so I'm excited to see if it'll ruin my life as well. The second book is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, and now I am actively avoiding anything about this book. If somebody in a YouTube video is talking about it, I fast forward. I don't know why I'm so actively against knowing anything about this book, but I am. But it just, the cover and the title, and there's just something that draws me to it so strongly. All I know is it's about this girl who lives in a marsh, and I believe there's a murder involved. Other than that, I know nothing about the book, but I really want to get to that book in 2021. Another book I really want to get to is The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, I believe is how you pronounce that name. And it's basically just a children's book about child imagination and adulthood. I really loved the movie, and so I'm really excited to read the book as well. The other book I want to get to is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. All I really know about it is that it's a romance and it's a fantasy book, and there's an antichrist, and everyone absolutely loves it. Another book I want to get to is The Deep by River Solomon. And it's basically a story about mermaids who are the ancestors of pregnant African slaves that were thrown overboard. And I'm just really excited to see how those concepts mash together and, see if, it just sounds so interesting to me, the mashup of the stories. And I also want to read Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. I want to read it just because Paperback Dreams can't stop talking about it, and she mentions it on almost every video, and I think she may feel the same way I feel about Salt to the Sea, which I want everyone to read. I think everyone should read Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys, and so I just want to see if, me wanting somebody to read my favorite book translates to me reading somebody else's favorite book, if that makes sense. So yeah, so Radio Silence. And then it's also a book about trying to figure out what you want to do with life, which I think we could all really relate to, because all of us, and majority of us, will or are in high school, and you're always asked, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to go to college for? And so being stuck in that I don't know stage is really hard for a lot of people, because a lot of people do know what they want to do in high school. They have their dreams set out. I mean, everybody I went to high school with knew exactly what they were going to do after. They were going to go to college for a certain career, and whether they changed that or not, I don't know. But for me, I still don't know what I want to do for, my career in life. So I'm hoping I'll be able to relate really well to the book like she did, because she's in college. And then I also want to read Wilder Girls by Rory Powers. All I know about that book is it's a boarding school, there's a disease, it's gory, sounds really weird, and I'm kind of getting into mystery thrillers, paranormal stuff like that, so that one has a lot of hype behind it, and the cover is beautiful, I think, so I want to read that. The other book I want to read is The Southerners Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Gary Hendricks. And you had me at book club and vampires and Southern, so the whole title is just caught my eye. The cover is beautiful. I really read books based off the cover and the title, honestly. I don't like knowing anything about books when I go into them, but everyone is raving about it, everyone loves it, and so that just compelled me more to really, really want to read it. The next book is Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I know nothing about this book except a lot of people loved it, and it's a mystery thriller horror. And then next I want to read Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This book just came out this year and everyone loved it. First of all, the cover is gorgeous, and some of them glow in the dark, I've heard, so really excited for that. But basically it's about this haunted house, and this dad writes a story about the haunted house, and the daughter's like, it's not haunted. And so from my understanding throughout the book, you're trying to figure out, is it actually haunted, or is there something a little more sinister going on? I really want to read Home Before Dark. Hopefully it comes out in paperback soon because I don't like spending the money on hardcovers. Although they are very aesthetically pleasing, they are expensive. And then lastly for the books, because I also have series I want to get into, for the last book is The Nothing Man by Catherine Ryan Howard, which is about a serial killer. This girl survives a serial killer and she writes a book on her account of that. And from what I've heard, alternating chapters are her book and then the perspective of the serial killer and what actually happened that night, which sounds just so intriguing. The fact that it's part of the book and her account and then actually the serial killer who was involved. So I'm excited for that. And then I'm not going to go into the series and like what they're about. I'm just going to tell you the series, and if I can remember exactly why I want to read the series, I'll tell you that, but I'm just going to tell you the series and if I've started them or not. So I want to read The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. I want to read this one because it is very found family, I believe I've heard. I want to read The Diviners by Libba Bray. I want to read the Daevabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. That one is because there's jinns involved and it's fantasy, which sounds really good, and it has 3 big chunky books in it. I want to read The Poppy War by R.F. Kong. And then I want to read the Need series by Carrie Jones, which I have read the first 2 books and back in sophomore year of high school, and I was finally able to get my hands on the last 2 books in this series like 5-6 years later. But yeah, about 6 years later. Anyways, so I really want to finish that series up and see if it holds up like it did in high school for me. And then lastly, I want to finish the Illuminae Files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, which I have read the first book, but I have not read the last 2, and I really want to get into that. Also, something that I don't have written down because I just read it back in December. Well, this month, you're seeing this video today. Well, on the 16th. Is Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Amayetti. I don't know if it's going to be a longer series than a duology, but I own the 2 books that are currently out, and I really want to get to that this year as well. Okay, and now we're going to get into my most anticipated releases of 2021. I'm only going to go until about June. Well, the last books I'll be talking about are in May just because I couldn't find anything for June, so in May I'll update you guys and go over the rest of the year. And sorry if I look over, I've got my notes over here. So in January, I believe I have 5 books that I am really excited for that are coming out. Okay, one of the good ones by Mika Moulet and Martinez Moulet. I apologize if I'm pronouncing your last names wrong. That one comes out January 5th. And it's about a teen activist is killed by police brutality. And it's just the story of how her family has to cope with. The other book I want to read is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas, which comes out January 12th. A guy named Mav who was in a gang and he ends up having a kid, and so he wants to change his life around. And it's kind of a book on, can you really beat what box people put you into, and can you really change your life? And so I'm excited to see, because for a lot of people they're weighed down by their past, and you know, you really don't get a lot of opportunities to change your path, because once people have an idea of who you are in their mind, it's almost impossible to change it. And so the point of the book is to be like, yeah, maybe I was a gang member, but I can be better and I can do better for my child. The third book that's coming out in January that I'm excited is Bride of the Sea by Emma Quota. That comes out January 26th. All I know, it's about culture, immigration, marriage, family, love, sadness, and that all sounds very interesting to me, so that is another book I want to read. And then lastly in January is The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon, which comes out January 26th. And that book is basically about a talk show of, and it's like exes, they're supposed to be exes, but they actually don't know each other, they never dated. And throughout the book they end up falling in love, and that puts their job in jeopardy because now they're not exes, even though they weren't exes to begin with. And now they're falling in love, and what is that going to do for their job? Okay, and next in February, I've got 2 books that I'm excited for. The first one is The Project by Courtney Summers, which comes out February 2nd. It is a thriller, mystery, horror, something like that, so I don't know anything about it. The second book in February is The Gilded Ones by Mina Forna. I totally apologize that I butchered that name. Which comes out on February 6th. And basically it is this girl named Dika who is waiting for her blood ceremony, and she's really hoping her blood runs red, but it ends up running gold, which means she's impure, and now her life hangs in the balance. And that sounded very interesting to me, so I'm excited for that one. Okay, and now we're in March, and the first 3 books come out on March 2nd. The first one, Every Last Fear by Alex Finley, which is a thriller, so I know nothing about it. Firekeeper's Daughter by Angie Booley. Again, another mystery thriller, so I don't know anything about it. And then, thirdly, The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. And all I read was the first 2, bullet points of the synopsis, which I will read to you because that is what really hooked me into really wanting to read this book. Rule 1. The poison must never be used to harm another woman. Rule 2. The names of the murderer and her victim must be recorded in the apothecary's register. You had me at poison and murder, and there's an apothecary, there's a register, you're not allowed to kill women. I am very intrigued on what's going to be going on in that book. Okay, and then I want to read The Rose Code by Kate Quinn, which comes out on March 9th. And I'm just going to read you an excerpt from the synopsis. As England prepares to fight the Nazis, 3 very different women answer the call to a mysterious country estate, Bletchley Park, where the best minds in Britain train to break German military code. I believe it's a non-fiction, and that just sounded really interesting to me. I'm very interested in World War II. I love history, so I'm excited to read that one. And then thirdly, or I guess not thirdly, and then I want to read The Ladies of the Secret Circus by Constance Sayers, which comes out March 23rd. And you're following 2 timelines. One is Paris 1925 and then Virginia in 2005. And they're like descendants of each other. And there's a magic circus involved, which sounded really interesting. So yeah, I want to read that book. And then lastly for March is The Lost Village by Camilla Stern, which also comes out on March 23rd. And from my takeaway from it, because it is like a mystery thriller, it's kind of like the Roanoke Island, where this whole entire village just vanished and nobody knows what happened to them. And so yeah, I'm excited to read that book. Okay, and then in April, I only have 2 books. The first one is Mother May I by Jocelyn Jackson, which comes out on the 6th, which I am really excited for. The cover was beautiful. Again, it is a mystery thriller, so I don't know anything about it. How many times am I going to say this in that video? A lot, clearly. And then lastly, in April, I want to read The Light of Days by Judy Battalion, which comes out on the 6th as well. And I am going to read you an excerpt from the synopsis. One of the most important stories of World War II, already appointed by Steven Spielberg for a major motion picture, a spectacular, searing history that brings to light extraordinary accomplishments of brave Jewish women who became resistance fighters, a group of unknown heroes whose exploits have never been chronicled in full until now. World War II, resistance fighters against Nazis. I'm down. So I'm really excited for that book as well. Okay, and then lastly we have got May, which has 2 books. And the first one comes out on May 11th, and it's People We Met on Vacation by Emily Henry. And what I know about that book is it's about these 2 friends who went on vacation, and after this vacation, they're no longer friends. And one of the main characters, Poppy, has a chance to fix the friendship, and that book is just the journey of what happened and why they're not friends anymore and what she's going to do to save their friendship. And then lastly, I want to read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which comes out the 25th. And an excerpt from the synopsis says, Malibu, 1983. 4 famous siblings throw an epic party to celebrate the end of summer. But over the course of one night, each of their lives will be changed forever. Which I'm very intrigued to see what happened in that one night. Of course, I have theories already because parties and whatnot. But yeah, that is the last book that I'm excited for the first half of the year. If you like this video, hit that like and subscribe, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye!